Send your changes.
Call the meeting to order. Those that like to stand and join us in the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, please do.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the October 6, 2015 legislative session of the Wicomico County Council. First item on the agenda is the approval of the legislative minutes from September 15th. Entertain a motion to accept the minutes from September 15th.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections?
I'll decline due to the fact that I wasn't present.
Any others? All those in favor of the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Minutes are approved. Entertain a motion to accept the work session minutes of September 15th in reference to goals and object priorities of the council.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any corrections? Seeing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Entertain a motion to accept the work session minutes from September 15th, referencing the Department of Law. Second.
Second.
Any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor of the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Minutes for the work session are approved. And now we have a proclamation, if we could, for a very important person in the audience tonight, Marv Long. Good evening. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
If you would, you could go to the podium here. Matt Holloway has the proclamation for you.
Even. Okay, this is a proclamation for the County Council of Wicomico County. Whereas Marvin R. Long served on the Wicomico County Board of Education on their School Building Commission, using his knowledge and talent to improve and expand school construction throughout Wicomico County, planning for renovation and construction of over 27 major projects. And whereas Mr. Long was a Wicomico County government employee, working as a purchasing agent and director of purchasing and general services. And whereas after his retirement from Wicomico County, Mr. Long was elected to and served on the Wicomico County Council for 2 terms from District 4. And whereas Mr. Long also served as the chair of the Salisbury-Wicomico Metropolitan Planning Organization, lending his expertise to help plan and meet the transportation planning needs of the region, also serving on the PAC 14 Board of Directors. Although nearly all of these activities, Mr. Long served diligently on the School Building Commission. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wicomico County Council commends Mr. Long and his service to the School Building Commission. The County Council also publicly acknowledges and thanks Mr. Long for his many years of dedication to our fine county.
The only thing I will say, it's been a good ride. I enjoyed it. I think I originally got the job because under the original makeup of the School Building Commission, the administrative director was the secretary, or whoever he designated. Now, that wasn't Matt. That was Bob Deacon. He designated me, and I kept it for, I had lifetime tenure. But anyway, it afforded me an opportunity to work with an awful lot of dedicated people, a lot of projects we worked on. I would dare say that the last two that we worked on, the two Bennett projects, have been by far the best. The original Parkside was probably the worst because it was an all-electric school, and the electrical contractor went bust right in the middle of it. So, But it's been real good. I appreciate you recognizing me, and I enjoy it, and I'm going to take some time to do some other things. I'm not totally retired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the County Council, ladies and gentlemen. If it please the County Council, we would request a modification of the order in this evening's agenda. The Fruitland Enterprise Zone application renewal, item 4 on your agenda. We have here with us this evening Andy Mitchell, who's a city attorney for Fruitland, and Leslie Lewis, the Director of Finance. John Pasota, City Manager's father, is not well, so he was not able to be here. And Fruitland has a Planning Commission meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. If these two folks and Mr. Pasota are not there, it may not go well, or as it should. So with your approval, would you be willing to take the Enterprise Zone first on your agenda?
Yes, Council, it's with council approval. Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Entertain a motion to accept Resolution 153, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Good evening. If you'd like to come up, we'd love to have you. Need to pull those chairs up and make sure that you have a mic, please.
We're simply asking the county, I just introduce and pass the motion.
For discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's kind of a trick question thing going.
What we're asking is really for a renewal of our enterprise zone. We've had one for more than 10 years. It's been fairly successful. It includes the Crown property, and there's several businesses in there, but it also includes the development along Irle Lane and South Brown and Irle Lane North Division, which have a number of businesses in there. So that's our request. That you joining us in approving the enterprise.
Would you do us a favor and let the public know who you are on the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm Andrew Mitchell. I'm the attorney for the city of Fruitland. This is Linda Powell. She's the administrative assistant and in charge of zoning.
Okay. Questions from the council?
Do you see any opportunity to expand the zone in the next few years, or
You mean make it larger, expand within the zone?
within or make it larger? Yeah.
Possibly within the zone. The property that goes from down Irle Lane, both on Division and Brown, is owned by Andy Phillips, and he has plans for several more buildings. He just needs to find somebody to put in those buildings. And we had a project at one time, if you refer to this map, that would extend down here. Well, I'm sorry, this is Crown. Down here, on the other side of Brown, and possibly down there on the other side of the bypass. That's owned by General Fouts. And at one time, they had before the home building went south for a number of years, we had a company coming in there, I think it was called, yes. They were going to make trusses and things like that at that site, but they ran into some problems with the power company, and then when the market went down, they just let it go. So hopefully we would find something to go in there. It's a good area. We have extended sewer service underneath 13 and under the railroad to come to Crown. That also will open that whole area up to anybody who would need the sewer.
From reading this, I was under the impression this is the entire enterprise zone as is displayed here, correct?
It is, right.
The only question I had, how come the enterprise zone doesn't include like your Main Street area?
I don't, to tell you the truth, don't really know. I think it's because, isn't it,
Unemployment rate.
I thought it was, well, it may be this. Although we're trying to build something on Main Street, council has passed an ordinance that would allow, change the zoning that allows commercial on the first floor and residential on the second, trying to develop more of a Main Street type thing. There's no manufacturing or anything like that anticipated along it. I don't know if that's the reason we're going that way or not, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
I think it's because it's a renewal and we're just asking for the same thing. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, challenging anything. It was just a matter of curiosity, to be quite honest. Any further questions?
No.
Okay, yeah.
I got one, Dan. On the, I guess you call it the, on the southbound lane, on the southbound lane, down near where the Valero station was. Is that zoned industrial down there? Wasn't there a zoning change that changed that area to industrial along that highway?
That's actually barely into the county.
Yeah, I know it was right along the edge there, yeah.
It's, not that I know of. There was an attempt at one time, that's where How Sweet It Is.
Uh-huh.
And he was seeking to cobble together quite a number of properties in order to make it industrial.
Mhm.
And we were backing him on that, but there were just too many different owners to get together, and it just never, he was never able to do that. And now that he's got this fiefdom down there, I don't see him giving that up.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine. I know in some of our zoning maps that we've looked at on the county level, it showed both sides of the highway as far as being kind of that's fine. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none. All those in favor of Resolution 153, 2015, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, resolution passes. Thank you all very much.
I greatly appreciate you taking us early. So this call a medical emergency family.
I know
There will be
it's,
no staff at the meeting.
thank you. Give him our best regards, would you, for his dad?
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr.
The
Kramer.
next item for the council's consideration is resolution number 150, 2015, at the request of the county executive, making a supplemental appropriation from contingency to the Department of Law in the amount of $27,970 to cover unexpected salary expenses incurred for payout of benefits as well as unemployment costs in fiscal year 2015.
Entertain a motion to accept Resolution 150, 2015.
So moved.
Second. On discussion.
Ms. Lewis is here to answer any questions you may have.
If you could, be great. Good evening, how are you? You grab that mic. Do we have any questions, Council?
See here, it said the shortfall in salaries is due to the retirement of the county attorney, and the payout of benefits, vacation, comp time, sick. What was there a total on that?
There is a total, this is not the total, this is less than the total because
Uh-huh.
it came the last pay period of the year, so it's split between FY 15 and FY 16. Sorry,
Yeah.
but I can get you a total.
I know when we were talking about redoing the personnel manual, that was a
Your concern.
big concern due to the fact that, somebody retired, there was. Okay.
Any other questions? The only question I had, unless, if you feel like it's a closed session issue, don't, just let me know that, and I'll ask you about it later. But one part of it said that the rest of the shortfall came from an unemployment expense. I didn't know what that was.
And I'm glad to explain that. Unemployment is pretty much an estimated expense based on the prior year. And unemployment is always known because an employee can resign from the county and go work for another things and beyond their control, and they have not worked enough quarters, we can be responsible for their unemployment. They can come back on the county. And when we did the budget, it was very low, so we estimated it low and didn't do it to total departments. And when we started having unemployment expense, it was rather large, so we started to expense it to the departments. So this is no fault of anyone's. It's really a good use of contingency.
Are you saying that the unemployment expenses went up across the board in all departments?
No, I'm not. We expensed it to the actual department. Some were able to absorb it because they had, like, a position being vacant. They could absorb the unemployment costs. This department could not, and one of the reasons was because of retirement.
I don't understand. The unemployment expense is fixed annually, and if you have retirements if you have retirements, it doesn't impact the unemployment.
They had an employee that, I don't think I need to get into why, but for some reason is no longer employed in the law department.
This is expense directly to the...
This is truly expense.
Okay.
Generally, what happened is the department's never budgeted for unemployment. That's what Ms. Lewis is saying. So the law department never budgeted for unemployment. So when we had that expense, our department's so tight that there was nothing to absorb it with, hence this.
Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 150, 2015, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution passes. Are you here for the next one?
That's what I was thinking. I'll sit here.
Don't go anywhere.
Next item for council consideration is resolution number 151, 2015, at the request of the county executive to make an appropriation of funds to the sheriff's office from unanticipated revenue in the amount of $114,317.
Entertain a motion to accept Resolution 151, 2015.
So moved.
moved.
Second.
Captain Richardson is also here to answer questions
Great.
you may have.
Okay. Council questions? Mr. Kilmer?
So it says that this is for the expenses for the riots and things like that. The money from the state and the Board of Education has already been received, and we're just moving it. This has already been received from the state, the Board of Ed, and we're just moving it to the Sheriff's Office.
This is revenue generated by the sheriff's office, in and above what was already budgeted, and this revenue calls the expenses because of what they were doing. They were able to bill out for their services. It's really the revenue zeroes out the expense. But to do proper accounting, so we don't have budget variances.
Just housekeeping.
Exactly. This is the kind of housekeeping we like. It's new cost. It's an increase in revenue and an increase in expense.
What were the unanticipated salary expenses?
Primarily additional overtime that was expended throughout all the events that we have to estimate throughout the year, what we spend with the Board of Ed, Bike Week, all the large events, they just became larger than what we had originally budgeted, but we knew that we were also going to be billing this out, so we knew that the revenue would make up for the expense.
Will this be added to next year's expenses?
Yes, we tried, we estimated more as a result of when we put in the budget, but obviously we're estimating, 18 months out sometimes, and events like Baltimore and stuff we really didn't predict.
And I'm assuming, even though it says that the appropriation was made for overtime, that we still have the flexibility to apply it towards overtime and unemployment costs?
And this was another case that exactly unemployment was more than originally budgeted.
I understood. I just didn't know if there was a restriction on the appropriation, because it says the appropriation was for overtime costs, but it was also applied to unemployment.
Exactly. And these are really line item by line item. It's so when the auditors would come in, they wouldn't say that we had a budget variance. We're always supposed to bring it to your attention at the end of the year, and we closed out about September 9th. That's why it could not be done before this meeting.
Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 151, 2015, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried, resolution passes. Thank you all very much. I don't know
I
yet.
don't know.
Someone help me out. Where are we?
Thank you, Todd.
There's one more.
There's one
It
more.
is one more.
Okay.
Resolution number 152, 2015, at the request of the county executive, making a supplemental appropriation from contingency to the Board of License Commissioners for Wycomico County in the amount of $1,655.
Entertain a motion to accept Resolution 152, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Is this, usually, read this a little bit, this is just some law, attorney's fees.
Exactly. It was
For the
due to
benefit of the
the
public.
attorney having to be used more than they planned. I know they had several big issues this year that resulted in large fines. And again, if we probably went back, increase in revenue could offset the expense.
He gets a flat fee. Salary.
And I,
Yeah, above his rate.
So the retainer has a limit as to how many hours?
and I'd have to research that. I'm not, I can get back to you.
That's all right. That's all right. Wayne
It's
says he
easier
knows.
just to walk up here.
You want to tell us who you?
I'm Wayne Strasberg, Director of Administration. The attorney's retainer covers what I would refer to as a normal course of business. When they have extraordinary events, and I think we've all been made aware of some of the issues we've had this year, then the liquor board's attorney is able to bill for time that he spends outside the normal course of business. And that's what this represents.
So I guess the retainer must have some qualifier of specific hours.
I don't know that it has specific hours, John. I mean, we could provide you with that information. I don't want to talk off the top of my head, but he does bill for hours that he spends on legal matters that are outside what I would call the normal course of events.
$1,600 for an attorney, that wasn't many hours.
It's not a whole lot of hours, no.
So,
But just curious about the process more than I am the money, just, how somebody then says, oh, by the way, we're past the 10,000,
Well, that's all vetted through the liquor board itself. So it's, I mean, we can provide you with a copy of the retainer agreement if you'd like to see that, but, this is,
Well, like Joe said, it's not huge, it's not,
No.
it's not huge numbers.
no.
Just curious.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor of Resolution 152, 2015, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried, resolution passes.
Next for your consideration is resolution number 154, 2015, providing for the issuance and sale by Wycomico County, Maryland, upon its faith and credit of $19,665,000 in aggregate principal amount of its serial maturity general obligation, fully registered bonds, subject to adjustment upward or downward as provided herein, so long as the final aggregate principal amount of such bonds does not exceed $23,350,000.
Entertain a motion to accept Resolution 154, 2015.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
I have a question. This,
Councilman Dodd?
it's a lot to read and digest. Does it meet the county attorney's approval?
Yes.
Not only that, Mr. Dodd, but it's not in English.
It's also written and approved by your bond counsel,
Okay,
so.
makes me feel better.
I had the same confusion, I think, maybe Councilman Dodd had. We have, so, I've got the $13 million. I think I understood that part, that's what we authorized in CIP. And the extra $6 or so million is for buying,
It's refunding of existing debt because we can refund that debt at a lower interest rate. We estimate doing that will save the county about $300,000. debt that's refunded is paid down over the same period of time that it's already scheduled for. So we're not recasting the debt. We're just taking advantage of lower interest rate. So we've got $13,185,000 in new money and $480,000 in possible refunding. We won't really know until the day of settlement what the refunding. So that's always a bit of a moving target. But based on what we think the market will do, I think it's doing the refunding.
What is the settlement date?
October 20th.
And our interest rate that we will have will be determined at that time, or?
Yes. That's subject to what happens is we go out to market and we get bids. Last issue last year, I think we had seven different bids. So it's a market bid on the day of the sale.
Will that tell us our bond rating at that time also?
No, our bond rating, we should have our credit ratings by no later than October 15th.
Any other questions?
Wayne,
Yes, sir.
no, it's been, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, we went to the banking market instead of the bond market. It's borrowing
Took a
because,
look at that on some small.
yeah. Will that be done with this? Will this be compared before we sell these bonds with some of the, to see what kind of interest rate we could get?
If Davenport felt that that was a viable possibility, they would have bought that to us. Typically those kinds of issues, Joe, are going to have a shorter amortization period and probably a higher interest rate. So that's something that we discuss with Davenport every year. That wasn't in play.
So we
this
leave that
year.
up to them instead of us
Well,
basically doing it?
we have them advise us.
Okay, all right.
Because they know what the market's doing.
Right.
Much better than we do.
I know in talking to some of the local bankers, most of our banks are flush with cash right now and looking to make loans, good loans. And I was wondering if that would,
I
something
can
we had
certainly
looked at.
discuss that with Sam again, just to be
Yeah.
sure. But typically, if he felt that we had an opening in the marketplace to do that, he would.
Any other questions? The only question I had, Wayne, is we go from the 13 million to the 19 million, but then there's also the notation in here of the 23 million. So I understand the difference of the 6 going to 19, but what happens between the 19 and 23?
Nothing will really happen, but I can have Maureen explain why that's in the.
I think it's probably, and you know, I didn't ask Lindsay the question, but I think generally it's because when you are refunding, we don't always, if the interest rates don't really come out the way we want them that day, we don't necessarily refund everything. So she always builds in that extra space so we can do up to that if it's viable. If it's not, you know, we don't necessarily refund the whole amount.
So do we
I'll
have?
translate that. If interest rates really took a nosedive, then what we are anticipating for refunding would probably increase.
There are more bonds
So
in
there
the
would be
queue.
more bonds that would lend themselves to refunding.
Okay.
Highly doubtful that that's going to happen.
All right.
So we leave ourselves room for that to happen. I doubt it'll happen.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none. All those in favor of Resolution 154, 2015, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes. Thank you, Wayne.
Mr. President, that concludes the resolutions for the moment. It's now time for the council to have a presentation by the former superintendent of the schools for Wycomico County, and I guess we should say auctioneer extraordinaire, among his many talents, Mr. Bill Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Good evening, Mr. Middleton. How are you? Good to see you. Just, how are you tonight?
I'm doing very well, and
Have your hands full?
well, finding things to do, you know. Thank you for the opportunity to come. Just a little background, the Maryland Association of Boards of Education, affectionately known as MABE, and a counterpart of MACO for the councils, has a superintendent search service as part of its membership. It's a consulting part of it at fee, and the MABE group has been selected to do the superintendent search for Wycomico County since Dr. Frederickson will be leaving. We have met with the board a couple of times, and we're in the process of getting community and business input and employee input. There are sessions scheduled for employees on the 14th of October and for the community that evening on the 14th at Bennett High School and Salisbury Middle School. The board asked that the MABE team, who by the way is Dr. Ed Shirley, who's retired superintendent from Caroline County, and Kitty Blumsack, Director of Staff Development for MABE, and Dr. Thelma Monk, who was the Director of Human Resources for Montgomery County Public Schools. I, as the card there says, am the lead consultant for MABE on these searches, and will be working with that group in doing this search. Dr. Shirley was initially to be with you, and he has some medical issues that prevent him from being here. You have in your brief book, I believe, a pretty comprehensive PowerPoint presentation, which I am not going to go over with you tonight. It will be presented. It will be presented to the employees and to the community on the 14th. It has already been presented in an open meeting for the Board of Education, and they saw this plus some other things when they were talking with MABE about doing the search. What I do have for you tonight is a pretty quick, I hope clean outline showing what the various people that are involved in this search would do. MABE is convinced, and having done about 17 of these searches, I am absolutely convinced that the more input you can get from the community up front, the better results you're going to get in your search as far as a fit is concerned in your community. Our goal is to come up with a superintendent that fits the community, wants to stay in that community, and will stay in that community. Superintendent turnover is not a good thing in my mind. And I'm pleased to say that our searches have resulted in fairly good length of service and tenure for superintendents that have been hired in the state. If you look at the handout, there are 3 sections here. One is what the board does, one is what MABE does, and the other is what the stakeholders do. I've already mentioned October the 14th at the bottom. Participate in stakeholder forums and give input to the Board of Education. That input will be written on chart paper, copied, and given directly to the Board of Education. They will take that input and come up with the characteristics that they are looking for in a new superintendent. Those characteristics become the basis for the entire search. They have to decide what they want, and that's what we look for. The questions in the interviews will come directly from those characteristics. The background checks that we do will come directly from those characteristics. So the community input, and tonight your input and other input, is vitally important to this search. This board made it pretty clear that that was what they wanted, and we're pleased. There are a lot of search firms. Some do some of this with the community. Others do very little with the community. Our goal is to have a superintendent selected that when the announcement is made, people can say, yes, that person does what we wanted to do. Now, everybody's not going to agree with that. We understand that. But we want at least most people to say, we had some input and we agree with what they did. The process is starting in October, November, and we fully intend to be done by April 1st. And to have the Board of Education meet in open session and name a new superintendent shortly after the 1st of April. That is a rather quick timeline, even though it looks like a long time. By the time you put together the application process and have 2 sets of interviews, and then we would invite the finalists to the county for a day, and different groups will meet with those candidates. It takes a little bit of time to get it done. The reason I'm here tonight is to get from you comments that I will share with the board about what characteristics you would like to see in the new superintendent. Now, at the risk of saying something anyhow, this is not about previous superintendents. If you didn't like what previous superintendents did, or you did,
Which ones?
that's why I'm saying this, John. That's not what we're after. If you have something that way, then please phrase it that we would like to see the new superintendent do this. And that way, it keeps it on the right track. And we don't get sidetracked with personalities. So we will be asking 3 questions in each one of these sessions. One is, what are the good things about the public schools in Wicomico County? And what are the good things about Wicomico County, period? We use this when somebody calls and said, all right, how come I would want to go to Wicomico County? Well, here's about 5 things that we think are good about the county, why you might want to come here. But what about the school system? Well, here's some things. You ought to put your application in because here's the good things. So that's the first question. And anybody that would like to make comments about that, I'll jot them down, and they will go directly to the Board of Education.
Any comments from council?
I guess,
Councilman Dodd.
That's all right. I had my hand up. I'm sorry.
And
Bill, thank you for coming.
Excuse me, I'm not going to put names by it, okay?
Oh, that's fine. 17 searches out of 23 counties, that's a lot.
Well, we have done most of the small and middle-sized counties. We did do Anne Arundel County, not this time, but the last time. And we've done 3 counties twice.
That adds up too. One of the characteristics I'd like to see, and I hear a lot of people speaking about that, is they would like you to consider somebody local.
I think the first question was the positive things about Wicomico County, correct?
Okay. The people.
Okay?
Councilman Holloway?
well, I was going to comment. Larry already touched on it. That's what I hear from the citizens in the county is, of all the people that work at the Board of Ed, why do we have to hire someone from across the country to be the superintendent? They seem to be a little baffled that, we have to hire from outside of the state. And, there should be somebody in line that's been trained and brought along that possibly step into the shoes.
I will assure you that if there are local applicants, they will get full consideration, equal to everybody else. That's part of Maeve's job to see that happens. I'll just comment. When I applied for superintendent here the first time or second, whatever, I didn't get the job. Somebody from out of the county got it. That's exactly what should have happened, because at that time there was a aura that we needed change, and internal people have an aura that it's going to be status quo, and sometimes I think it is best to bring in fresh new blood. Now, they need to understand the Maryland school system. Today, that's easier than it used to be with the internet and websites and so forth to understand the Maryland system. We have about half of the people that we've hired in those searches have been local, and the other half have been out of state. We try to do our homework to see if they know what they're getting into. I don't disagree with you. Okay.
That's fine. That's what I hear.
Part of the job of a
citizens in the
superintendent
county.
is to train people to be superintendent.
Councilman Hall.
I think you're looking for positive things
Looking
about.
for positive things,
right.
yes.
That's question number one. I think the quality of your principals and vice principals are excellent. In the 27 schools we have in Wycomico County,
26, I believe, maybe 27. School administrators.
school administrators. First,
Okay.
first level?
Where it hits the road.
Where it hits the road.
I think if you're also looking for comments, not just about the school board, but of the county in general.
Yes.
If you look at the quality of life offered at a lower cost of living than a lot of other places, I think hard to not appreciate the amenities that are very close to us here.
And that's what I had. But also, yeah, the quality of life. I mean, you're talking about the water, if they like the water, if they like the beach, and everything that's so close here. You know, there's recreation parks and the shorebirds, everything that they do, and the Civic Center as well, as far as there isn't. And another key, too, is that I think a big reason might be the lack of congestion. Say it's a slow pace isn't really true. But to say that there's a lack of congestion is true. I mean, you can get in your car and you can be somewhere at a relatively decent time period without a million traffic lights and a million cars in front of you before you get to, you know, off the first block, which I think is, I think that's a big plus. Plus, of course, you have the universities and the hospitals here as well.
Also have a downtown in the midst of a revitalization right now.
That's a good one, yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to the second one, and that's the one I think you've been commenting on. So we got a good start on that. The characteristics, it's things like that, you know, local people are, they have to have a background in secondary education or elementary education, people person, whatever. So I'm open to characteristics that they should be looking for.
I was going to say personable and approachable.
You don't have to write, you don't have to write this down. What I was really surprised was it Accomack County that just lost their administrator or something.
Yeah.
He was 34. When I seen that, I thought this fellow moved through the ranks pretty quick, and I think maturity is something that's you know, to go along with the rest of it. I was really shocked to see that. You know,
Well,
no disrespect to him.
no, the new superintendent in Baltimore County, I think, was 37. Dr. Dance.
I'd say it goes without saying that they have to have, you know, good leadership skills, good communication skills. I would also really want to see someone who's a very innovative thinker, because as we all know, we're still climbing out of that recession, and I think it's going to take, funding-wise, it's probably going to take some very innovative efforts. I would love to see someone expound on the public-private partnership aspect of it, to see where we can go with that. I really think there's some possibilities, and it'd be interesting to have someone that comes in that may be familiar with that, at least know how to maybe to go down that path, you know, feel comfortable with that.
Saying we might need somebody with a background in finance. Would help out.
I didn't say that.
I got the
Thinking out of the box.
I got the inference.
Thinking out of the box, creative.
John?
I think we
Yes,
also-
Larry?
I also think we have to go along with good people. We have a good council, we have a good county executive, a lot of good leadership in this county, and I don't know how you can list it, but I would like to see somebody who's got the qualities and the experience with working with an elected body like us.
He's saying patience is what he said, patience.
Possibly.
I will put that in capitals.
I think we need to find someone who has passion to see young people succeed in school and in life.
Passion for student growth.
Well, not only student growth, but
Student-
achievement,
yeah.
student achievement.
Anything else? Where are we next?
Okay, third question is, what issues, problems will the new superintendent face? And I will give you one is money.
Right.
And that takes it off the table, but anyhow. This is when we come up with the finalist, and somebody from MAID calls them and said, you're being offered a finalist role in this. Here's what we see some of the issues to be. Think about it at least 24 hours and let me know whether you're still interested or not. Because you don't want somebody to come here and be surprised at what they're facing. They may as well know what they're getting into, and that's the reason for this question.
Though the county does fund the Board of Education very well. Comments?
Can you write that down?
I put it down.
Capitalized.
I think one of the issues is that,
Just a comment, they will pull up the state report and they'll know that before we tell them, so.
Good.
I think one of the issues is that you have a lot of people around where I live that they are not engaged with the public schools because they don't send their kids to the public schools. I mean, a lot of people, doctors, lawyers, things like that, choose the private schools in this area over the public schools. And I mean, they're paying the taxes for the public schools, but they're not engaged with them because they perceive a lack of. You should have to ask them exactly why they don't, but I mean, lack of options for their students, safety issues, whatever. And that, I mean, they're essentially being double taxed for the education for their kids. And, I mean, Wycomico County could be a lot more attractive place to live if, our schools, if trying to attract new doctors here and they're like, we want to send our kids to public schools instead of looking around at Worcester Prep or Wycomico Day. So, finding a way to attract some of the people who have disengaged from public schools back into them.
Any other comments?
Yeah. One of the issues they're going to have to deal with is kind of the demonization of the Board of Ed that's occurred by a vocal group of minorities here in the county. It's not the majority of the people, but it's a very vocal group that has really taken them to task over the past few years, and whether it's justified or not, it's something they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, along that same vein is, I think that there's always the comment that there's no transparency. And I think there's a lot of transparency. You can go online. I think there's a lot of transparency, but maybe it's more about perception, but it's really, really important. And I think they have to sort of clearly establish, a very strong perception of transparency. And over again, and it's been this way for forever, that everyone always continues to say they persist that the administration is too top heavy. And I think somehow or other we just have to come to a conclusion where they put that to rest.
I think it's about regaining trust of the citizens, because I think a lot of that's lost.
It's a reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this, with the transparency issue.
It is. It may not be true, but it's a reality.
Right.
It's not new, I can assure you. It's not
think
new.
No doubt. No doubt at all.
I guess the last question I have, are you going to apply?
Do you remember the Mikey ad? No, me not.
Councilman Dodd?
Yeah, I was just going to point out that a lot of things that we are discussing, like the transparency, things like that, a local person would already know. So they may be a good fit. And I do agree with you. There's some times when you need to bring somebody in for a shakeup.
Or a settle down.
True.
Any other questions? Any questions in general?
Yes.
We're good here, right? Any questions in general?
I have
Joe?
one. On an average, when you do these, how many applicants do you get?
We've been having 18 to 30.
Is that right?
It's down from the 75 that it was a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known some assistant superintendents throughout this state, and I've called them and said, look, you've been an assistant superintendent long enough, you need to apply as a superintendent. And they simply say to me, Bill, are you nuts? I don't want that job.
Do you see salary as the driving factor for people applying? Is that one of the
If you're going to
biggest-
compete with, the fact is, if you want someone that's got experience in Maryland and has been trained to be a superintendent, for instance, in a larger school system, you got to pay the money.
Mhm.
Because in many cases, the assistants in those counties are making more than the superintendent is in your county.
Mhm.
So, yes, money is a factor. Absolutely, it is.
I think the president of the school board sent an email to each of us on the council, asking us to be at the, on October 14th, and I plan on being there, speaking as a parent in that role. So, hopefully there's outreach going out to the parents to be able to come.
That email went to every parent, I believe, and there's PTAs have been invited, and we're trying to cover the waterfront. Yes. And that night, there will be the PowerPoint that you have in your book will be presented, and then it'll be opened up to small groups with chart paper, and they'll answer these 3 questions.
Bill, how are they going to decide who the stakeholders are going to be on this committee?
Okay, the ones that go on the 14th, they'll be told, if you're interested in being in the stakeholders at the end, sign this piece of paper, put your name down. Then probably, in most cases, boards ask their members to put in names, and then the board sits down and comes up with the stakeholders list. We will have probably about 7 groups of stakeholders. And it'll include a business group, it'll include a parent group, parent and community group, employees, a couple of different kinds of employees. And it works best with about 12 to 15 in each group. So,
That's a lot.
so you're
That's a lot
talking
of
about
input.
70, 75 people that could be involved in that process.
That's
And
excellent.
It is a commitment, because if we have 3 finalists, the people have to be there all 3 days for about 2 hours, because they do an interview with X number of questions, and then they meet with someone from MABE and do a critique. So it's about a 2-hour commitment for 3 days in a row.
That's a lot. Councilman Dodd?
Since MABE was hired to do this search, can you elaborate on what it's going to cost, and was it budgeted already?
I think it was budgeted. I don't work in that realm anymore, but they called me before the budget was set, so I assume it was. It's about $21,000 plus expenses, and that includes 4 MABE staff members, consultants, and support from MABE with research, and MABE does all of the reference checks. MABE handles all the applications, processing, and I think that's where it is. And
Well, that's a lot less than the 50,000 I heard from a previous search.
Yeah, well, MABE's fee schedule is based on the size of the school system,
Okay.
and at 14,000, I think it's 21,000.
Any other questions?
I don't
Councilman
have a
Hall?
question. I'd just like to thank you, Mr. Middleton, for,
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
know you're retired and have been retired for 1 or 2 years, and I'd like to thank you, and I'm sure the whole council feels the same way, for being willing to step up and be part of this group in order to find us someone new. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I enjoy it. It keeps my hand in it. You know.
And if you could keep the council updated and the executive updated as the process continues on, we'd love to have any, whatever feedback you have.
We will do that.
Yeah, great,
We
great.
will do that.
And thanks for being here tonight and including us in the process. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Take care. Good seeing you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Mr. Roser, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. President, council members. I have one small item for you tonight. It concerns the Liquor Control Board. I refer you to memo dated September 22nd. As many of you may know, prior to 2013, the Liquor Control Board county payment calculation was a formula agreed upon by a former finance director in the LCB. My office noticed some year-to-year changes in the county payment calculation. The council codified the calculation with Resolution 127, 2013, and my office, as a matter of course, reviewed the financials from the LCB every time they were released since. We recalculated the formula in all subsequent years, and upon the release of the financials and the accompanying audit report. We recalculated the payment contained in the report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2015, found no inconsistencies. Calculated payment is $520,400. And with council's permission, I'd like to post this memo on the website, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? I guess the one item that you had mentioned in your memo was the personal checks. They were having problems with personal checks.
Yes, the accompanying management letter was also reviewed at the same time. And these are things that generally an auditor will point out to help enhance internal controls. It is by no means an audit finding or any negative reflection on the financials. You know, you're talking about taking personal checks at the liquor stores. It's something that they'll have to decide as managers if that's what they want to do. They'll have to weigh the cost and benefits of doing that. What sort of revenue will they lose if they stop accepting personal checks as opposed to what they're suffering revenue-wise as you know, bounced personal checks or whatever, and that is some kind of management decision. And I would assume that they'll do a cost-benefit analysis on that and figure out the best way to handle that situation.
President, I had a discussion with one of the board members the other day, coming in front of the council with several different ideas. Two new board members. I think in the near future, they're going to want an open work session to talk about some of the management possibilities. This is something we can discuss.
Mr. Kramer, you want to make a note, and we'll get an invitation out?
Thank you very much.
Sure.
That's all I have, Mr.
All
President.
right. By consensus, council agrees to go ahead and get this out. Everybody in concurrence? Mr. Roser, thank you. Ms. Howarth, good evening.
We have a public hearing for Resolution 156, 2015. Notice is hereby given in compliance with the Environmental Article Title 9, Subtitle 5 of the Annotated Code of Maryland, Comar Section 26.03.03.03, that the County Council of Wycomico County, Maryland will hold a public hearing at their regular meeting in the County Council Chambers, Government Office Building, Salisbury, Maryland, Tuesday, October 6, 2015, commencing at 6:30 p.m. The purpose of the public hearing is to receive public comment on the contents of the proposed Wycomico County 10-year Comprehensive Solid Waste Management Plan, and to formally adopt the plan once all comments from the public hearing have been considered. The plan summarizes all aspects of the management, collection, disposition of solid waste in Wycomico County, and outlines principles, policies, objectives, and goals which shall serve as the guide for management of solid waste within Wycomico County.
This time, we will open the floor for a public hearing for Resolution 156, 2015. If you have any comments that you'd like to make in reference to this resolution, please go to the podium, state your name. Okay, seeing none, that concludes with the public hearing. We will not take a vote on it at this time. It's going into a work session later on this evening for council members.
This is going to be on a work session.
Yeah, it's going to be on a work session. And we already have it scheduled. So no need for a vote.
We have a second public hearing.
Public hearing only.
Second public hearing, adoption of legislative bill 2015-13. Notice was hereby given that public hearing will be held on Tuesday, October 6, 2015, commencing at 6:30 p.m. in the council chambers of the Government Office Building, Salisbury, Maryland, in conformity with Section 311D of the Charter of Wycomico County, on the following bill, which was introduced for consideration at a legislative session of said county for the year 2015. The following bill may be called for final reading and consideration commencing immediately after the aforesaid public hearing, and it's an act to amend Exhibit A of the Annual Budget and Appropriation Bill for Legislative Bill 2015-3, adopted June 2nd, 2015, to further appropriate the $684,844 in the Economic Development Account 38 into salaries, operating, and capital, as the Office of Business Development has been created by proposed legislative bill 2015-12.
At this time, we open the floor for a public hearing for legislative bill 2015-13. If you'd like to comment on this legislative bill, please go to the podium, state your name. Seeing none, that concludes the public hearing for legislative bill 2015-13. Entertaining a motion to adopt legislative bill 2015-13.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Right, discussion. The executive and Strasburg are here. Come on up, and just in case there are any questions. I think we've had a lot of our questions answered. Any questions? Now we're down the road.
I guess one of my questions is, in light of some other department issues, is there any thought of contracting out this department? I mean, I know there's firms that, I mean, is that being considered? I mean, I know that we are appropriating things for salaries and things like that. I mean, is that part of the discussion, or are we looking at definitely hiring?
We have not looked at this point in time of actually hiring it out or subbing it out, as you would say. It would have to be in-house with our own employee.
Any other questions? Councilman Holloway.
I know when this came about, trying to get businesses come to the county, one of the jobs, one of these folks that we're going to hire is going to be grant writing. Has still been a requisite of their employment? I mean, is this be something that we're staying in those lines with?
We're still putting that in the job description.
Okay. Because I think everybody, I know I did, and I think a lot of the people on this desk thought that the grant writing position was going to be an important position. Good.
The only question I had, there were two Exhibit 1s that ended up in my brief book. One of them seemed to have a flat rate of operating expenses, $339,820. The other one said operating expenses, $50,000, then promotions, marketing, $289,820. So I didn't know which was which.
I haven't a clue. You all sent it to me.
I didn't send you this because we wouldn't have put this together. This is from a budget book.
I think this said something.
If we sent it to you, maybe we were curious as to what the distinction between the two.
The only 50,000 I have seen came from that night we had the first discussion. You suggested 50,000, then all I see now is that's ended up on this budget line, and I'm not really sure, John, I'll be honest with you. It didn't come from my office.
All right, then I'm going to just revert to the highlight in blue. That's what we really need to be looking at. Okay.
That came from my office, yes.
If you want, I can help. The Exhibit 1 that doesn't have that cutoff writing, that's the one the executive originally submitted to you. The second one that's got the cutoff, some word that's cut off of it,
Right.
I believe that's what Mr. Kramer sent as a proposed amendment to the executive and Mr. Strasburg.
The executive branch, okay.
This is
All
where
right.
it came from.
That's the detail that we've
Okay. So all that aside, we're looking at the blue highlighted page. Okay. Any other questions?
I appreciate the breakdown.
Well, this is our best guess, and, we hope to try to make those and cut where we can.
Into it, but,
Right.
yeah.
It's a lot of money. I have my reservations, but I'll vote in favor of it, and it happens after a year. So
Well, I appreciate their confidence, Mark.
And you don't have to spend it all in 1 year.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, sometimes this, like a lot of other things that we do up here, is I don't know what you want to call it, hit and miss. I remember us spending a lot of money at the airport not long ago to buy a ramp for the Allegiant airline. There was a lot of reservations there, but we took a chance and it didn't work. Hopefully we'll have better luck with this, as we will in other endeavors we have along the lines. So,
Any other council comments? I'm seeing none. All those in favor of legislative bill 2015-13, starting with Mr. Hall?
Aye.
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 That's unanimous. Legislative bill 2015-13 passes. Thank you, gentlemen. Are you going anywhere? You staying here?
You have the introduction of legislative bill 2015-14, an act to impose and declare a moratorium on the imposition and collection of the public school impact fee for all new residential dwelling units until December 31st, 2016, as provided for in Chapter 130 of the Wycomico County Code, in order to allow the study of the issue and possible implementation of new legislation to address the same.
Entertain a motion to introduce legislative bill 2015-14.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion on the introduction? There will be work sessions scheduled, et cetera. Any questions currently? Okay. All those in favor of the introduction of legislative bill 2015-14, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, passes. Doesn't require a roll call, does it?
Not for introduction.
Thank you. Set the work session?
Would you like to have a work session first? You can have it October 20th and public hearing on November 3rd.
Sounds good. All right, moving right along. Okay, at this time, we will now open the floor for public comments in general. If you'd like to make any public comments, go to the podium, please. State your name. Let us know who you are. Evening, Mr. Palmer.
Good evening. My name's John Palmer. I live in Del Mar, Maryland. Tonight I heard a couple interesting words. Mr. Cannon, you mentioned some innovative efforts, and Matt, you mentioned some demonization of the school system. I agree with both of them. You know, all that stuff is out there. And I was just wondering, you know, about 3 years ago, there was a bill introduced and passed. It was under the initiative of a Eastern Shore delegate, and it was submitted into the legislature and the Senate by Sheila Hickson and Senator Mandolino, I believe his name is. And that one bill drove a real wedge between county government and the Board of Education, and even with the people, feeling like something was just shoved down their throat from the other side of the bridge. And that was the maintenance of effort bill. And it's the one that says, you know, if you have to meet a maintenance of effort above anything you do, no matter how you have to raise taxes, what you can figure out, you must meet that maintenance of effort. And I know county government didn't like it. The other four county governments with revenue increase restrictions didn't like it. So what they done is they just used the tools that they have, and they gave boards of education the maintenance of effort, and that was it. Therefore, I believe if you start looking at the money gained by this bill as compared to what the counties were given by the local governments when they had those funds, I think it was a losing situation. I think county government, when they have the money and they are given the reasons why they need it, I think county government has been very generous. So what I am proposing is that you consider legislation, or start getting legislation to repeal this maintenance of effort law that we have right now. Get this wedge out between the local governments and boards of education and the people. And as our county grows with funds, and I believe we are growing. I know our rates are there was a report last November by Fitch that showed that they gave our interest a AA from a AA minus, and I really anticipate with the rate that we're going, I bet within 2 to 3 years we'll have a AA plus, because I really believe our economy is going to go up. And I believe that as the economy goes up, the local government would want to give more funds to the Board of Education, but because there's this wedge right there that drives people, to loggerhead with one another, I think we really need to get rid of that. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Any other public comments? Seeing none, council comments. Councilman Dodd?
Okay, start with me again. As usual, I'd like to thank everybody that attends the meetings. A lot of people take time away from their families to attend. So do employees and council members, so it's always good to see everybody here. We have a couple events coming up, and I do like to see the county participate in it, and I think that Council President Cannon will give you the dates on the Autumn Wine Festival and the Good Beer Festival. A lot of good events, a lot of family-oriented events going on as well. The high schools have a lot of good sports going on, good entertainment, good family spirit, and I'd like to see more people attend. And thank you again, everybody that attended tonight.
Thank you, Councilman Dodd. We'll go over to this side. No? Yes?
I'll yield to Councilman Kilmer.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who showed up to the elected school board hearings. We've had 3 of them so far. We had a very well-attended one at First Baptist Church last week. Our next one is October 15th at 6 p.m. Pittsville, I believe, and looking forward to seeing everyone there. And I think Mr. Palmer made an excellent point about maintenance of effort legislation. That's not popular, I don't think, with any county government, and it really does put a ceiling on what elected officials feel inclined to fund local schools, because if you ratchet up the level, you put yourself on the hook for years to come, no matter what your economic situation is. And so, I understand, I guess, the feeling why it was enacted, but I think there's some very negative consequences, and it does drive a wedge between the boards of education and county governments. I think, under this council, we've had a pretty good working relationship with the Board of Education, and I hope any superintendent who's looking at coming here recognizes that I think we may not always agree. We're fighting each other. But there is always room for improvement.
Thank you, Councilman Kilmer. Councilman Howell? No?
Well, I would like to say that those of you that watch PAC 14 or attend the meetings notice my seat's been empty for the past couple meetings. I had some health issues that seems to be taken care of now, and I'm glad to be back. And I want to thank everybody for their sending cards and emails and well wishes. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman Holloway. Any other council comments? Under presidential comments, as Councilman Kilmer said, the public hearings, I think, have gone very well. The last one especially, a lot of good input. We appreciate everybody who came and spoke to give us an idea of exactly what they'd like to see in reference to an elected or appointed school board. I thought it was very positive, and we've got a lot of input from that. And again, the next one is October 15th at 6 o'clock at the Pittsville Fire Hall. The other thing, Bennett Middle School rededication went great. It was a lot of attendance there, and hats off to the Board of Education for the excellent job they've done in getting that building where it is now. And for a lot of children, they're completely enthused about the whole process, which is wonderful. Saturday, attended the NAACP Freedom Fund banquet with Councilman Davis and President Shawnee. I know you're here. Good to see you. Very enjoyable event. Thank you for including us in that every year. We appreciate it. Outside of that, I believe this is Mrs. Howarth's last night with the council, anyway, in the last council meeting. And I just wanted to announce publicly that congratulations, first of all, for your new position. You're going to Worcester County, correct?
Correct.
Great. You've always been a real plus for us, a consummate professional, and developed a very good relationship of trust between you and the council as far as not only confidentiality, but also the professionalism. And we always appreciate the hard work. And Worcester County is getting a gold mine, so we congratulate you for moving on.
Thank you.
Congratulate them for getting you. That being said, I don't understand why Councilman Dodd said I was going to tell you about the beer and the wine festival. So, I think this Saturday is the beer festival. Am I correct? Yes. Yeah. Well, this Saturday and Sunday, yes. This Saturday and Sunday, and the following Saturday and Sunday is the wine festival. And I see Mr. Strasburg's the one that can tell you about it. But anyway, it starts at 12 o'clock on Saturday. What time does it start on Sunday? Excuse me?
I thought it was 12.
12:30.
There's 12, there's a shout from the back row. Good evening, Pam Oland, Acting Director, Rec and Parks. The Beer Festival starts both Saturday and Sunday at 12:30, and the Wine Festival the following weekend starts at 11 a.m. both Saturday and Sunday. So, and they're both held at Pemberton Park. The discount tickets for the Wine Festival, last day for sale for those is this Friday, and tickets are available, though, at the door for both events.
Great. Thank you, Mrs. Owen. That wraps up my presidential comments. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn so that we can go into open work session, followed by a closed work session.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you. Anybody want a 5-minute recess or not? We're good? All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess if we could, please. Thank you.